So hopefully I won't stretch it too long and bore you guys with the details, but I want you guys to just get a bit of an idea of what Krump dancing is about and also the history behind it. So before I start, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, the Wurundjeri Willam people and the Kulin Nation and the elders past and present. I also acknowledge that they continue their respects and their traditions of how they brought life to the city and the region. Yeah. So why did I bring that up? So welcome to country is very important, especially for someone like myself who was born on the land, but not from the land, if that makes sense. So it's all about inclusion. So Krump dancing is about that, right? It's about inclusiveness. You might look aggressive, you might look very expressive, but there is an order to the chaos. So let's take you right back to the 90s. This is where Krump really originated from, yeah? So back in the 90s, there was a gentleman named Thomas Johnson, aka Tommy the Clown. So it's important to understand there was a foundation before Krump, which was clown dancing, right? So there was a transition period that happened in the early 2000s that created this sort of, or manifested into what it is today. So I don't know if you guys are aware, in about 92 there was this Rodney King. I don't know if you guys have heard of Rodney King. Yeah, see if you're not against. So Rodney King was basically a person of colour who was basically beat up by law enforcement. So that sort of reverberated the whole issue about, you know, police brutality and so on and so forth. So thinking back 92, that's quite early, I was only like 4 years old. So Tommy the Clown, he needed a way to get these youth who felt, you know, agitated, aggressive, they wanted to be violent, you know, they wanted revenge. So he collected these youth and created what he called was the Tommy the Clown Hip Hop Academy. So the Hip Hop Academy was just to basically give these guys a creative outlet to dance, right? So all that pent-up emotion was utilized to articulate artistically and expressively, right? So let's fast forward back to nearly about late 90s. So by that time it was about what they used to call these clown groups. So clown groups is basically like your fams or your crews or whatever. So your clown groups used to consider these things called a party circuit, right? This is where the party element comes into it. So the party circuits was every group or every suburb had their own community group. So, you know, OC, Long Beach, Victorville, they'd have their own circuits. And each individual circuit would have a competing rhyme. So what you call these is a clown group. So one example was the Racetrack family, what they call today, but used to be called the Racetrack Clowns, right? So the Racetrack Clowns used to turn up at these events, or not even events, these are parties. So it could be an 18th party, and they'll represent, they'll dance, they'll have fun. Right? And while a competing clown group will go to another one in the same suburb and say, hey, that was the livest party ever. So how they'll compete is whoever has the livest party. So they'll go and interchange the next week into each other's party and start dancing. And then every week they'll have this thing called the battle zone. So the battle zone is typically clown groups dominating each other's culture, in each other's suburbs. And the epitome of clown dancing at the time was anyone that was part of the Hip Hop Clown Academy, part of Tommy the Clown's crew. In comes this genius. I want to put that very loosely, yeah? Genius. Comes in, demolishes everybody. And I think Krumpers know what I'm talking about here. So every week we'll come to these clown sessions and try to get into the Tommy Academy, Clown Academy, to be that guy, because everyone around the suburbs, to be a hood celebrity, would attend Tommy's Hip Hop Academy to get booked and go to these lessons and go to these parties, and that's how you get notoriety. So it's like, we know about so and so forth the clown because he danced for Tommy. So there's one guy who used to demolish everybody, and I'm talking everybody. So he came up, he joined up, and then he had a friend, right? That friend used to collaborate together and say, you know what, this clown thing, and when you picture a clown, that's what they were. They wore face paint, very fun, very expressive. The sea walk, I'm not talking about the crip walk, I'm talking about the clown walk. What you see today, the clown walk, is what started from that movement. So they went back, just like a studio like this, with a garage, started writing up notes. This is what I feel, these are the movements. And who was that person? Cesare Laurent Willis, aka Tight Eyes. So Tight Eyes is the creator of Krump, and his co-creator, Big Miho. So it's very important to understand these two guys who are undisputed in terms of what they do. And they are living legends. So we always pay homage to those guys, just like how I pay homage to the people of this land, right? It's about inclusiveness. So Tight Eyes and Big Miho used to come and collaborate and dance in front of these clown groups when they start to think, you know, what is this style? It's very aggressive, it's very, you know, it's very different. It's not to a point where you're like, oh, that looks fun, I want to do that, because Krump isn't fun at that time. It was just complete emotion. It was just, you know, beat you up sort of thing, but there's an order to the chaos. So what happened was, and this is probably one of the more sort of profound moments, so at that point there was about 60 clown groups, right? So there's this one story that I heard from one of my OGs, CRU, this is a guy named Rooster, rest in peace. So he said that Tyler's went to a particular suburb called Victorville, right? And he battled this crew called the Victorville Clowns. So we're talking one dude versus, I'm not exaggerating, like 20 people, right? Went for like 2 hours. And they said that after that session, that battle session, the entire Victorville Clown group cut their name and said, well, now we're Victorville Krumpers now, right? So it's a massive transition. So it's almost like an exodus, gone from clowning to Krump dancing. And how they sort of developed that raw emotion is what encapsulated what it then to sort of, you know, I want to do what they're doing. It's very raw, it's very expressive. And, you know, the style has adapted, it has changed. So when I started back in 05, 06, we didn't know what we were doing. We were just, it's this way, you know? We're just doing some really, what we replicate out of videos like Rise and you know, Missy Elliott videos. So at that point, we're like, you know, there's got to be some sort of substance to this. And I remember there was an issue back probably early 2000s where, I'll say 2005, 2006, where we weren't getting much respect from the B-boys. And the B-boys in the States were sort of having a similar issue. So the Krump dancers needed to sort of show up, right? And I remember we used to battle these B-boys. We'd lose, we'd come back, we'd lose, we'd come back. And these B-boys used to come and go, nah, hang on a second, there's some sort of substance in these crews. And I remember one particular moment when Llama Rock saw us dance and we called someone out in front of KFC. KFC out of all places, right? So turned on the music, started dancing. And I remember Llama was like, it just took you less than 2 seconds to set up a battle. B-boys take 2 weeks, get the lino out, get your speakers out. And it really resonated for him. So he became our advocate, right? The B-boy advocate. So we used to get hounded on Oz B-boy forums and, you know, hip hop forums. We used to get clowned, right? Clowning, right? So we used to get clowned by these guys. So we had to demand their respect by turning up and battling these guys. So how do we do that? How do we keep that momentum going? So like the B-boy culture, Krump dancing is sort of somewhat involved with gangs, right? So I think, I wouldn't say that we're very specific about this, but Krumpers in general, we utilize the big homie and little homie culture. So when you see, just look around here, some of these guys were my little homies and are my little homies today. So from the perspective of what I needed to do, I have to pay homage to my OGs and understand where the style came from, respected it first and embodied it. So our lifestyle, we've got our own lifestyle, we've got our own music, we've got our own, you know, terminology, you know, our own clothing. So what I want to do now is I want to get a bit of feedback from some of these guys, right? So I'll be what we consider as an OG, at least in Australia. But I'm also a big homie. So I've got a couple of little homies around here that I'd like to get their opinion. So you understand how this sort of encapsulates, like, from big homies to little homies. And the little homies carry the big homie name. So first and foremost, I'd like to get Kian, who's probably one of my, he was one of my little homies, his kid Rox, and as a killer. So if you don't mind, Kian, I guess what was the first question is, you know, what got you started, and you know, what you liked about it?
Hey, I'm Gian. What's up? What got me started in Krump? I think it was 2007, 2008? Yeah. So around that time, I don't know, I can't remember. Oh, no, okay. Me personally, actually, I remember now. I was watching Something Out. You guys seen Something Out? Yeah. I'm a lot older than I look. So this is, I'm talking like, this is when I was, I don't know, we were 18 maybe, 17, something like that. When Something Out came out, Something Out, the opening scene, if you guys, who's seen Something Out? No one? Oh my goodness, not like, it's like, I mean, again, not no one, but majority of them has seen it. Alright. Anyway, the opening scene of Something Out, they were Krumping in there, and at the time, it was like, you know, Chris Brown was in it, and back in those days, when YouTube just started, when you type in Krump on YouTube, Chris Brown would just pop up. So to someone at the time that didn't really know history, because I was just starting off, I would just watch that, yeah. And then, so when I was watching the movie, I was like, oh yeah, sweet, Chris Brown, Krumping, whatever. And then one of my friends, which isn't a dancer, he goes, oh, see that other guy dancing? That's Tardis. It's like, who's Tardis? It's like, isn't that what you do? You krump, right? And I was like, I guess, you know. And then he's like, you should watch Rise. I was like, what's Rise? Oh, it's a Krump documentary that I've seen. It's like, you've never seen this? It's like, you call yourself a dancer. And this guy doesn't dance, you know? Like, so he kind of just, all right. So he gave me the DVD. So pretty much, cut the story short. I started because I saw Rise. Oh no, saw Stomp the Yard. And one of my friends showed me Rise, which is, Rise is one of the first Krump documentaries that made it in Hollywood. So before Rise, there was actually another one called Get Krump. Shake City, my bad. Shake City and then Get Krump and then Rise. But those first two, they were just like low budget ones compared to Rise. Rise was like, it made it in Hollywood, you know. I think Warner Brothers picked it up and put it into the big screen. But yeah, so the reason why I started Krump is because I didn't really know much history, so to me it just looked cool. Yeah, it just looked cool, and when I got home that day, I remember I just started doing it. I was just watching it, and I was just like, I didn't know stomps, I didn't know chest pop. I was just pretty much copying whatever it is that I saw on at movies and on the videos. So from then on, I just researched it myself. Back in the day, there wasn't much material online compared to now, which is like now you get someone that's been krumping for like less than a year. When we were krumping for less than a year, we weren't as good as you guys. You know, we had to like pretty much dig deep. My first Krump DVD that I bought myself, except for Rise, because Rise was given to me, was Krump 1.0. Believe it or not, I found that at JB Hi-Fi. I found it's a DVD, and I'm just like, oh sweet. Alongside it, it was like Styles of Krump, which is like, this is like Golden Series. They called it Golden Series. And then I think that, and then maybe like 2 years later, I found Krump 2.0. But then in saying that, a lot of these OGs, they already had it, because that's when we met them. They were already talking about it, but I've never seen it until like 2 years later. Nowadays, you know, it's easy to like find these things, which is good, you know. That's just the life now, you know. Everything's faster. But yeah, that's pretty much how I started, and kind of just picked up from there.
Let me fill in a missing key that he didn't add.
Oh, yeah.
Him and got Scout, right? So we got Antagonize and Scout. So I don't know if everyone remembered Melbourne Music Academy back in the day. Something I saw it on Andy.
Yeah.
So I used to teach Krump at MMA, right? So these guys would come to my classes and never do them. So they would watch like in the back of my class and they would feed off it. So usually after my sessions, after my classes, I'll run a session at the end, and that's when they're all hyped. It's like, guys, pay your bloody, you know, come on, man, support the movement. I was a student at the time, and you know, I'm like, come on, guys, you know. So, you know, quickly showed them a couple of things, put them under, and you know, so me and also another OG from Melbourne named Chaos or Homer, we got these guys along with U-Ground, and we used to get them to battle each other, battle us, because the importance of that whole battling style is it's basically sharpening iron with iron, right? So to really perfect your skills, what we believe in such a battle culture, we battle a lot. So notwithstanding that is important, the epitome of Krump happens at the session. So there's two styles to Krump. You got your battle motives and you got your session mode. So you know, you could fit into one or the other category, and depending how you dance, you could be, you know, you might not be an intimidating person in real life, but you're like, you know what, I want to be antagonistic, right? In a battle where he's not a very aggressive person, but in a Krump battle or in a battle period, he'll really get at you, like I was with Scout. So, you know, and then you've got particular dancers who only dance in sessions. So it's quite that dynamic. So it's sort of like, you know, if you feel like you want to be a session dancer, then come in session. That's all you need to do, just rep. So we used to do this thing called like a build up, where it's like, you know, don't stop the track, you've got 3 minutes, and you're supposed to build on that hype. What I mean by hype is, first person dances to the intro, next person has to level it, and you've got to keep leveling, right? Until a point, which is called a kill-off, is when the session ends. And there were times we used to factor in 2-hour session blocks. Some guy comes in, murders in 5 minutes, we all pack up and go home. And that's the reality. And there were times, I remembered, I don't know if you guys heard of Scrappy from Justice Crew. No, don't worry about it anyway. So Scrappy used to come down to Melbourne to get refreshed about Krump. And he used to stay at one of our houses to battle us from 9 p.m. till about 9 a.m. the next morning, right? So he would kill us off, but we're tired. And we're like, oh, you can't wait? I'll go to sleep. And he'll still battle us in our sleep. Like, what's the point? So and that's the embodiment of the actual culture, of the dance style. So we actually really do live it, right? So personally for me, I probably see myself more like a traveling scholar. This style comes from the US, right? I'm there to appreciate it, I learn about it, I embodied it. But in terms of how it helped me in different ways. I became a better student in university, finished my masters, started working in big corporate offices and consulting firms because of Krump. And it wasn't because of anything that I've done prior. And a lot of the feedback that I got from these offices was, you got your tertiary education, all that sort of stuff, but tell me about this. So whackers as well, you should really utilize that, right? It's something very unique that a lot of us think we have, and it's common, but it's not, right? So Krump dancing really gives you that sort of confidence, that boost, because we don't really care. I'm going to put Alina on the spot. That's kid antagonize. She's year 10, right? She's already a champion, she dominates guys and girls at the same time, right? So women in Krump, in particular nowadays, is a little bit more, it's a bit more widespread. There's a lot of women here that probably want to experience it. So there's a thing called a zero sessions, which Kayla over here, her name's 5 rounds, the dance name's 5 rounds. We've got Troy, I don't know if you have a dance name.
Yeah.
Not yet, but she's up and coming. So they have a women's only Krump session. No guys, just do what you need to do. We'll probably stop in and say hello, and then these guys will rep. And I've seen some of this stuff, and it's killer. So it might look very male dominated, but there is a lot more inclusion with women. So check it out. Kayla, do you want to give a bit of a spiel on what Zero Sessions is about?
So Zero Sessions was started in Sydney, probably beginning of 2018. It was started by two of one of the vets in female Krump, Lady Red. You guys know Stacey, she's really big over there in Sydney. Also Nova. Nova's traveled the world in Krump. She's done some great things as well. So they were kind of sick of just like looking at each other. They said they were sick of going to a session and just being them. And we'll lab together, it's just us. So they decided to put out the call. The idea of zero is we're starting from zero. So there are females in the scene, and there has been, but I feel like because Australia is so big, there was like one or two dotted around. And so when we'd link up at events, it was like, oh my God, it's another girl, amazing. So what Stacey, after the success of the Zero Sessions in Sydney, so they had an event, Blackout, the end of last year, and they had heaps and heaps of girls. It was the most amount of girls I'd ever seen at a Krump event together, and a lot of them were from Sydney. Stacey approached us, like the top girls in each, or the most active girls in each state, and asked us if we wanted to run a zero session. So it was me, Leslie, you guys know Leslie, Biga, and Alina. We decided to put the call out and thought, hey, does anyone want to come down? Because we had started getting people asking us at all-style battles, going, what's this Krump stuff like? Or just asking us questions like, oh, why do you guys like stand behind each other and scream every time you dance? Just things like that.
Yeah.
So we decided, like, for me, I'm from Adelaide originally, and there has never been a female at a session in Adelaide when I went there. Yeah. It was like, oh my God. When I came to Melbourne to have Cryptic, it was like, oh my God, there's another girl. Like, well, crazy. So when we started Zero Sessions last year, we had a huge turnout for our first session. We've had a lot of girls come and go, but and this year it was the first time at Clash, so Clash of the States was our big national comp. We had a top 16 female, and that's what the Zero Sessions have done. So it's just about starting from zero, building up the scene, no expectations, no judgment, just come through.
It's a testimony to what the girls have done only within the past year or so. So I've been dancing for 13 years, and we've seen women come in, come out, come in, get beat up. There was times where women used to get beat up at our sessions, and they'd leave the community because they think that was because of us. It wasn't. It's because of what people think it is. So we used to dance in the skate park in Dandenong, right, into the depths of the night, 10 p.m. It's so dark. So we get drunks and stuff, but we'd still dance. And unfortunately, this girl, she got into a bit of a scuffle because they didn't like the way she looked. She was Asian. I'm Asian. We've got a couple of other Asians here. And they got into a fight. Lucky she knew how to defend herself, but she still got hurt, and she never saw her again. So that really hurt for me because as an OG, like, I'm here to spread that particular, that style because it helped me. I'm not going to say I came from a bad background. I didn't, but it helped me in other ways. So I wanted to spread that. So when Kayla came on board, or like, they need to show something, they've, testimony to them, they've built it up in 13 years, and now it's only getting to a top 16. Like, what the hell is going on, right? So again, we wanted to demonstrate that Krump isn't only male dominated. It's for everybody, it really is. And there's no judgment. And I could talk for hours about the phases of Krump and so on and so forth, but it's probably not the right platform at the moment. But I would like to just bring up one other person who's a current little homie of mine. He's only probably danced for a couple of years, so that's Andy. Where you at, Andy? AKA Roxus X. So, do you mind just sharing a little bit of what drove you to Krump and why you wanted to learn and ask me to be your big homie?
Alright, so pretty much because so I dance with PDHD, and then like one time this guy just randomly rocks up to our training and he's like, hey, I want you guys to showcase for this event that they're holding, and it was the Free or Up event. So then he was like, yeah, so like I'm a Krump. Yui was like, yeah, I'm a Krumper, no, blah, blah, and I was like, oh, never seen you Krump. But then like when I went there to like do the showcase and all that, and then like they had a session with all like they did pass the buck, and like just seeing like the energy that was like brought from Krump, just like like everyone just like going in, going out. I was just like, holy shit, like this is crazy, like like the amount of energy that Krump produces just from like, you know what I mean? Like you can feel it. If I like, let's say like there's a bunch of people crumping like 2 blocks away, you could still feel it. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's that crazy. And then like, so then like I was like, okay. And that was like a while ago. And then like I never really thought of it after. And then like one time I remember seeing like people Krump every now and then. I'm like, oh, yeah, like you know what? I've always wanted to like pick up another dance style instead of just having like urban as my main thing. So I was like, you know what, I'll give Krump a try. And then my friend here, Budog, he taught me the foundations, and I was like, as soon as like I just started doing it, I was like I feel this, like I felt like a connection with it. And then and I knew that like Yui being an OG, like he has a lot of knowledge. I was like, hey man, can we lab? And can you just like teach me some shit? And then he's like, yeah. I was like, alright. And now,
that's pretty much it. That's it. So everyone, I guess every fam. So we got the antagonized fam, big antagonized, kid antagonized, and how Gian developed into what he is today to what Elena's developing into is absolutely crazy. It's absolutely. It's disgusting, that's all I can say. It's crazy, it's crazy. So, I'll probably try to keep it short. I think that's, tries to wrap it up. I hope you just learned a little bit of something. It's literally, if that's the tip of the iceberg, it's only just the tip. You touch the tip. But yeah, that's it for now, and I'll open up the floor for questions if you guys got any.
I think the question I just have to like a general broad one of you guys, and this is just out of curiosity, like how would you say if Krump has changed your life, whether it be with just the mentality towards how does it impact your life? Like, and that's just a broad question to all of you, because I mean, obviously the answer would change with everyone, but it's just a curious thing.
You want to choose kids?
I came from a choreo background, so I was always taught sets, and you have to look a certain way, you have to dance a certain way, all have to look the same. And I started Krumping when my studio brought in Shutdown from Sydney. He taught a workshop and we learned a little bit of choreo, then we started sessioning. And instantly I fell in love with sessioning and all the hype and the screaming and all that. Like I was like, oh, I want to do this forever now, this is crazy. And then, then Gian started teaching at my studio, and I learned the basics, the foundations and stuff. And I did my first battles, I started entering into more things, I started sessioning with everyone. And I've noticed that I feel more confident within myself. I feel like content with who I am, because with Krump, we have to touch into ourselves,
Yeah.
and the whole point is to express who we are and how we're feeling. And I've noticed that I can express myself and feel no judgment in Krump. So I don't feel judged from anyone. I could be crying while Krumping, I could be screaming, I could be smiling, and nobody will care. And I've noticed that I feel more content in telling people how I'm feeling. And yeah, I just feel overall a more confident person walking around, and you know, I feel more me in a way. So yeah.
Good answer. Not bad, not bad.
Not bad.
No bad.
5 seconds.
Yes.
The first one is I've watched some from battle videos,
Yep.
but yeah, at first I don't understand why they are so hype. Is it
Sure.
they are really that excited, or is it just a means for them to behave like this?
That's a good question. So when it comes to hype is a very important element to Krump dancing. So it might look forced when we're dancing and someone's screaming, but we feed off that energy. So if there is no energy, we just can't dance as well as we could. So it's like being encouraged, and we tried to implement it in other styles and thought, fuck, get away from me. But having said that, we did try with, I think back in the day with KO Crew, where people like B-Boy Tofu dance, and we were hyping him, and he got to a point where he was Krump B-boying, like he was doing floor ground rocking, but in like a more aggressive way. And I remember that event in Newgrounds event. Holy shit!
That's crazy.
He was dancing to a Krump beat, wasn't he?
It was, that's why.
So he was doing a top rocking set, and then he went to the floor, and everyone was like, "Holy shit! We've never seen him dance like that," and people were hyping him. So that encouragement is necessary in Krump, right? So there's a thing where it's sort of people go, "Oh, can you be more authentic about the hype?" So if you do something tight, you get the glory. But in sessions, we just encourage it. If you're lacking in your style, so you're doing the introduction, what we call is a buck up, right? Before you start wilding out, if you're really slow and someone's screaming in your ear, "Oh, get off!" Somebody just taps into you, and you're like, "I have to do something. I have to express something." So it is a very important element, and that's something that needs to be taught. So how to hype properly. So if I know Gian's in control of what he does, I'll stand literally that close for him. A new dancer, I'll probably stand a little bit behind him, but I will encourage the hype. So that is a good question. That answers it.
Also, do you have a list of young famous from the
Oh, holy shit! Yes, I got one. One who's my favorite right now. Her name's Hinata. Baby Ruin. So
Yes,
Baby Ruin. You better check her out. She's from Japan. So she's her Krump name is Micro Twigs, aka Baby Ruin. So she's 10 years old. I'm talking 10.
Crazy.
And she dances like an old dude, like a 25-year-old, whatever. She is so powerful. Like if this screen was working, I would show you Hinata. She's like, this timid. If you think about Japanese culture in general, and then the way they dance. So Hinata and also another one named Baby Street Beast. This guy. And the way they dance, it's like, even for me as someone who's danced for so long, the way they pick things up, technically in the style, they might not have the feeling, if that makes sense. So feeling is separate from the technicality of Krump. I could probably train with Andy for the next 3 months of whacking, right? And then he can go, "Bro, that's not authentic." It's that there's a feeling behind it, and she is starting to she's breaking out of that. So I encourage you to watch this girl, and then you'd see other dancers. Like another one of my favorites, her name is Queen Buckeye. She's from Germany. She's like, for me, she's like the epitome of power. So there's two styles of Krump. You got your power heads and you got technical heads. So technical Krump dancers are more body control and so on and so forth. Power dancers just more like, I'll pick up this table and throw it. I'll throw it to spin belt, that's the energy. So if I tell you to watch these two people, so Baby Ruin and Queen Buckeye, two different styles, two different age groups, and two different ethnicities, you'll see what happens. I'd love to refer you to the real OGs like Termite, Storm, but there's no footage of them, unfortunately. But you should get a good understanding of how these females represent Krump, especially in the battles. Oh, crazy. But yeah. One last question, anyone? No, Fisher.
I'm Naru. I'm a DJ in Vigo.
Oh, nice.
And I was always thinking of this thing about Krumping. You guys touch each other, right? Or rather, you throw stuff. I'm a Vigo dancing for quite long.
Yes.
And it's kind of taboo thing for us.
Yep.
So I kind of want to know about.
Yeah, good question. So I assume you guys would have saw the Tie-Dyes vs B-Boy Junior battle. I think Krumpers have. It's supposed to be an exhibition battle between two styles. So this happened at the Illest, I think, or EBS? EBS. So the whole touching thing of Krump, it's starting to sort of get away from that because it's becoming a lot more technical. Back then, we used to like, man, I remember I almost got knocked out once. Like, and this is by like, oh, who was it? It was this female. I got too close and she was trying to like, there's this thing called an army move, right? An army move is when you like grab the closest person and just like rock with them, right? So, because she's shorter than me, she punched me in the face. You know, what is that? But it got to a point where the touching is sort of like, it is becoming taboo to some respects, especially in the all-style scene, because we have to respect the different styles. But you know, if you come to a Krump session, even a Krump event as an exhibition battle, then it's no holds bar for us, right? So I know b-boys and b-girls, when they burn, it's always, you know, sort of in your face, but you're never really touching. However, b-girls and b-girls, they do a lot of high-risk stuff, right? So someone doing a head spin, someone will, you know, you have a 90% chance of hitting them and breaking their neck. But that's the high risk, high reward. But it is taboo. But the thing is, with Krump, there is that control, and we do vibe off that. But obviously, if you take it too far, you can sort of tell. So if I know Fish is doing, so we've got Fission here, Little Street. If he comes up too close and he rips my shirt intentionally, I can read that, and I'll probably beat him up for it. But if it's unintentional, then there's this level of respect. So Krumpers understand. So if I get too close to him and he's getting hype, I'll probably like push him out. Or in a session, he'll push everyone like in his little. So it's part of our style. It's all done with good intentions because we're not here to be that aggressive. We don't want to hurt people. That's not our intent. And we are still trying to sort of learn, especially from the b-boy, the breaking culture really, on how to carry ourselves, you know, in these sort of events, because Krump itself is its own culture. We have our own music style, you know, clothing, you know, we've got our own terminology. So, you know, we're probably like an offshoot of hip hop in general. So some people debate that it's not at all hip hop, but there is some sort of influences in it. So we have to sort of learn how to go, yes, we're part of this gang-driven culture. And so was b-boying, right? B-boying had, you know, threads with, you know, bombed out, you know, like jackets, but they would always try to keep that distance, right? So it's a matter of understanding. So if I know, say, if we were battling, I'm not going to actually go into that. I'll get close just to intimidate you, and then you do the same thing, but I'll never touch you. But then you get people like, if you watch Tie-Dyes versus B-Boy Junior, and then you'll understand there was a lot of issues between that. But yeah, B-Boy Junior came out and he goes, I anticipated that because I came to a Krump event, right? So it's no hold bar. But a lot of people that got salty were everyone else, not the dancers, right? So just to clear that out, touching is allowed to some respects. It's not, you know, there's always limits.
What do you think when you watch that battle, Junior versus
When I look personally, when I watched that battle, when Tie-Dyes did that move, I think it was out of the hype. You know, when we're talking about hype, you get lost in the moment. And I think b-boys, b-girls, whackers, you probably get lost in the moment, right? Especially when you're feeling the music and, you know, everyone debates whether or not, oh, it's because he's losing. Oh, I had to like show a bit of aggression. I don't think it's that. It was a bit of a shove. And B-Boy Junior's a big boy. You know, that kick was, it was nothing. But out of respect, I think Tie-Dye should have probably, you know, because again, high risk, high reward. He was in a handstand. That's very dangerous, no matter how you see it. But with that, I can't speak for Tie-Dyes. I don't know how he felt at the time, and I can't speak for Junior. So in my personal situation, I probably would have done that. Winning or losing, hype or no hype. That's just how I am. If I know I want to get angry, I'll probably keep my distance. So that's individuals. Antagonists might have a different scenario. Scout might have a different scenario. Boy Trick might have another different scenario. So that's it.
Okay, so 2 questions.
Yeah.
The first question is, just I think just general. Is there like a groove to Krump?
A groove?
A groove?
Yes. Ah, okay. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good question. It's a dancing question. So there is a groove in Krump which at the moment OGs currently do, and they're still trying to teach it. It's very difficult. We call it the bounce. So it's a bounce that moves with the music, and we're not talking about your general shoulder groove, we're talking, it's a literal bounce. It's like almost like when you jack in housing, right? There is a bounce that it's hard to teach. Like Guian's only starting to apply it now, maybe in the past couple of years, maybe 2-3 years. And he's been dancing for what, 10 now?
11 years.
11 years. And he's only just started. So not saying that he's not dancing. So that groove is very difficult. Something that you need to watch and observe and try it, and then try it again. You'll fail a lot of times. So, and the integral part of Krump, of that whole dancing style is the bounce, right? If you got the bounce, you're dancing. If you're not, you're just all moves. It doesn't make sense.
Is it prioritized? Like, do people say, oh, you're not?
Yeah. Oh, well, look, there's a lot of different type of elements. There's different ways to bounce. So there's no hard line like this is. Like, for example, when you do the Fresno, right, the popping, oh, there's a particular way you got to do that. There really isn't with the bounce. It's how a person feels. So if I teach Kayla how to bounce, for example, 5 rounds, she might bounce in a different total way, but it's still bouncing, right? So there isn't a format. It's just something you see, and then you need to replicate, and then make it your own. So, you know, I've seen B-Boy Llama bounce in his top rock, and that's a bounce, right? So.
Okay. And the second question is, so I'm from Brisbane. There's not that many DJs in Brisbane, and I'm like only just starting to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
So if I was to look for music for an all-style session, because
Right.
I see the Krumpers banging style thing on Wednesdays upstate Krump in.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
upstate, yeah.
Yeah. So I
Don't.
see them, and I see them more in some of the other dances too. But if I was going to pick music or understand what music is harder or better, you don't always want to give what's good or what's
Of
bad.
course, yeah.
Could you comment on like what kind of music is better or worse? Also in terms of finding music for Krump, that is not the equivalent of playing begging for b-boys. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it's
like just
Oh, empty up.
yeah.
The single
Look.
empty up.
I'll tell you what, like, play any Busta Rhymes track, you'll be safe.
Yeah, no, but that's the same time. It's saying that, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's all
It's
right.
like-
He's a DJ,
we
so
get-
he can talk all about
True,
it.
yeah, we get sick of it too. Like it's like what you said, we're like playing Apache. Like I'm a DJ too, but
Yeah.
someone asked me to DJ a b-boy event once, and I'm like, man, I don't know. Like, sorry, like I can't do that. That's disrespect to every other DJ that DJs that breaking beats.
But I'll tell you what though, on that note, just very quickly, I think as Krumpers we need to sort of break out of what our style is in terms of Krump music. So we'd love to dance disco, for example, or a breakbeat, like really dance to a breakbeat, like properly dance to a breakbeat. So these guys are really good at it, especially Gian. Like he's been in that All Styles category, Alina as well. I suck at it, just straight up. But yeah, just challenge them. Like just don't. Oh, can you play this Krump track? No, you're dancing to Britney Spears. Like and we challenge ourselves like that now. Hitting me right now.
Yeah.
But
Pin
yeah.
it right there.
Is there a place you go to find more? What's your process in finding more
Music. Oh, look, to be honest, we pay for our music.
Okay.
So we have dedicated Krump producers.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's sort of dishonest, even as an artist myself, to like, just, oh, can I just take it for free? Unless it's a free thing. SoundCloud, what else is there? What else are they doing?
The safest one would be like Bandcamp.
Bandcamp, yes, Bandcamp.
Yeah, so like, I mean, yes, it is hard to find because there's a lot of like underground DJs.
Yeah.
Just underground producers. I mean, so but yeah, in Bandcamp you feel like typing in the search bar, you know, people will show up. But I mean, like later I can let you know like
Yeah, definitely.
like
And I think
particular producers that
you guys are gonna, yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, so the stuff that we've got.
It would be from
Yeah.
we share with everybody.
Cool. I think that's it for me. I think we literally went over time. So sorry, guys, but I think we had a bit of an interesting discussion and getting perspective from not only myself, but just people that's in different generations. Like Jan is literally probably 2 generations after me, then Kayla straight after that, and Scout doing the same, and then Andy and Boy Trip are the new gen. So you've got a whole, 13 years of experience. So thank you again. Thank you guys for coming. Let's go.